struggle through seminary. By the time they come out, they're like, I already believe something different. But yet now I have to go do this work,
Well, and that's it. Like you don't have to. You don't have
Right.
to, or at least you don't have to go do that work in that way.
Hey, folks, it's your girl, Ebony Yvonne, the Queen of Real Talk, and welcome to Flow Talks, where we're having inspirational conversations about dreaming out loud while staying in flow. And today, as always, I have a very special guest for you all. This man I have met right here on the gram as I meet many of my esteemed guests. He is a thought leader. He is an entrepreneur. He is a mystic minister. He has become very much a spiritual mentor to me. And you're going to be blessed today. So with that, without further ado, I want to introduce you to D. Daniel Vines. Welcome to Flow Talks.
Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor.
It's an honor to have you here. And I want to say right now, if y'all go over there, I am promoting follows for him, but if you go over there, he actually just reached 11 today on your followers. So congratulations.
Wow. Thank you.
That's how many people you're awakening right now. So that's what's up.
Awesome. So the portals are open.
The portals are open. So with that, many times when we get started, I like to ask people, what is the journey that brought you here? How did you get to this place? And for someone like you, I would imagine that you would say it was a calling. So talk to us about what that calling was for you and what that looked like.
Yeah. I spent most of my young adult life, like most people, chasing, going through college and chasing the dream, chasing the dollars, the positions. Then at some point, I heard the call of God on my life. And so I entered in to ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think I hadn't quite finished I had finished my master's degree. So I'm very much an intellect. And, so I didn't think it was odd, but I also knew it was something that I did not want at the time.
In terms of the ministry?
In terms of ministry, yeah. Okay. I was focused on money and chasing my dream. My initial big dream was to be a college president.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that's really what I was focused on. But
why
my
college
wife,
president?
You said why a college president? Well, I had gone to school to get my master's in higher education administration. I had enjoyed my time, as an undergraduate, and so I also enjoyed learning about, I'm a systems person. So I also learned and enjoyed learning about the system of higher education. My degree was also in adult and community learning. Mm-hmm. So I could see where I could be involved in the community as well as institutional.
Okay.
And so my plan was to be both, right? And so I was like, big dream, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to be, and specifically, I wanted to be a college president of historically Black college or university.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, so that's where I was. And then somewhere around like 2006, I heard and felt the call of God in my life. I didn't know what to do with it. Uh-huh. I was working at the University of Virginia at the time in Charlottesville, Virginia. I was I was in the church, so to speak.
Okay.
But again,
Were you
I
raised
was
in the church?
I was not. Probably till about 7 or 8, then kind of jumped out. Some things happened. I was like, well, God, if you exist, why would you let things like this happen? In terms of some things that happen.
Question.
So, so I didn't find church again until I was an adult. And even then, honestly, I only found it because my now wife said to me, if we're going to date, you got to be in church. Because she was.
Requirements. I like it.
So, I said, well, I can go sit on a pew and do all that. But, my wife is a singer, and so she's always been invested in the church.
Gotcha.
Came up doing that. So, long story short, I was there, so I went to talk to that pastor, and of course, he began to say the right things to me, and it spoke to me. So I got licensed, I'm gonna move through this. Got licensed there. Then we decided to move back home. My wife is also from South Florida. We decided to move back home to South Florida. And again,
Which is where you are now.
Yeah, which is where I am now, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Had no desire, no knowledge of how to start a church. But a few months into being here, it was what we felt led to do. And before I knew it, we had started a church in my grandmother's home, the home I grew up in.
Okay.
And we started out with 5 people, and from there we began to take off. And I knew it was a calling for me because, of the growth, but also the growth of my gifting. But also I was one that was, I was never one to be a part of something just to be a part of, right? So, for instance, I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. I remember in my interview saying to them, I don't really need this. I think I bring something to the table, right? Being young and some people say dumb, I didn't know, but that was me, right? That was my thing. I had been raised in a military home. My stepfather was Navy, and so he taught me to really, bring the best out of me at all, in whatever I do.
Well, it's really interesting because it seems like even though you went out to do this, become a president, you felt this calling on your life, but then it's like, it seems as though it's still kind of merged in a way, because I would imagine that building a church, like developing a church, that's very much like, I mean, you can have the constituency of students but they're still students in their own way, that congregation, right?
Right.
Okay.
And mine was very much that, right? And when I say mine, I should say we, because and we were very different. My wife and I, we've always ministered together. We've always been a team, a tandem, and so you're spot on with that. I didn't go the traditional route. I didn't go to seminary, but I was just gifted. God has gifted me from, understanding and interpretation of the Bible to revelation. My wife and I both are ordained apostles.
Wow.
And so,
tell us a little bit about that really quickly.
Yeah. So in the, traditional, what we would call Christian or fivefold ministry, you will find, what they call the fivefold ministry gifts, right? So, and so the apostle, the prophet, the pastor, the teacher, right, and the evangelist, right? Evangelist, teacher, found in the letters of Paul, the Apostle Paul, in the New Testament. So there's a segment of church that very much believes in that, believes in the laying on of hands and the gifts and all of that. So theoretically, and in church lingo, I guess, I am an ordained apostle. My wife is an ordained apostle. And so we began this journey. So we were never just about inside a building, even though we had a space, but we also were outside. We were also what people would call marketplace apostles.
Was that like the evangelistic type of form?
Yeah. And also the belief that, your calling is meant to be in the marketplace, like, or business arena. Like so for us, we knew our calling was education, right? We've been educators all of our careers. My wife has been K through 12. I started out in K through 12, but once I went back to get my master's, I jumped over to higher education. I've been in higher education ever since.
Wow.
And so again, we're doing this dual thing, right? We're doing the church, but we're also doing, education. And so what I did is literally I took my career and really began to shape the church according to, because my background is leadership, development, personal development, administrative skills. And so I really began to bring that and mix it into the teaching of quote unquote God's word. Okay. And so you're right, very much. We begin to set up an educational institution that folk would, the running joke was anytime you came to us, you knew to come in the doors with something to write on, something to write with, and your Bible. Because we were going to have school.
Church. We're not going to give you the fluffy stuff. We're going to take you to school and to church at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
okay.
So we were there, and and then that lasted for about 12 years.
Okay.
And somewhere around 2015, 2016, I started feeling my next calling, if you will. And that was to move into what I now know as consciousness. I didn't know at the time what it was, expanded consciousness. And I just knew I began to, see things and interpret the Bible differently. I began to have different conversations with what I called God at that time. And, and so I had to be honest, with the parishioners or the congregation that we were leading. And talking to my wife, she felt the same, but she was waiting to hear from me. And so we kind of moved, congruently together. There was a segment that did, make transition with us as we dissolved the church that we had, but then we started up a smaller teaching ministry that was more so flowing in expanded consciousness. And so we started growing from there.
This is so interesting. Because you aren't the first minister or man of God, as we know it in the traditional church or, hemisphere to kind of move. Like we've seen this maybe once or twice with some bigger names. There's a guy that I'm thinking of, I'll have to put him up later, but he kind of was, renounced or denounced or something like that because he was a big evangelistic.
Bishop Pearson?
There you go. And then they knocked him down because he started having an evolution of sorts of what he felt his beliefs were. So like, how was that process for you? Like, how did you reconcile these things that have been taught versus the new information you were, I'm assuming, intuitively, but also researching into?
Yeah, lots of research. I'm a doctoral student, and so being a researcher is part of who I am. I tell people I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a social theorist.
Okay.
And so I look at things, and a lot of times it's hard for me to narrow because I'm into so much. So with what I do now, because
would you happen to be a Gemini?
I'm a Virgo, actually. I'm a Virgo.
Okay, close enough.
And I'm a true Virgo, right? Okay. So I'm very passionate, right, about what I do. And, and so where I am right now, for instance, in higher education is I work for what's called the Center for Inclusion, Diversity, Education, and Advocacy. So I do what is called, diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So that's, the whole racial justice, economic justice, sexuality, gender. So I'm mixing all of this into my bag, right? And so as I began to do that, I just began to really grow and evolve. And to the point that I kind of hid it for a while because I didn't know how to allow it to manifest. I didn't know how to have these conversations. I didn't know who to have the conversations with.
Yeah.
But my spiritual mentor, that I call him now, he's always been my spiritual father. I went to him, and because I always knew he was different, and Lord and behold, he started revealing deeper truths to me. And so that was where I first began to walk this thing out. And so I spent some time with him. Then he would turn me on to different teachers. Like one of my favorite teachers right now. So whenever I'm not doing my meetings with my smaller group, I'm always tuned into Michael Beckwith.
Oh, absolutely. I love him.
Beckwith. Yeah. And so for me, it really just took me into this place. I guess some people would say of becoming an ominist. I'm not one of those conscious folks that I don't bash the Bible. I still use the Bible as my foundation. Yeah. And I don't bash the church. I believe that we all awaken at the various levels at our various times. And so for me, I awakened to become a minister of the gospel. I did that for what I had to do and what that calling called for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got to the end of that dimension, I believe that I went through another awakening.
Yeah.
As I'm one that believes that, you know, you don't awaken just once. You awaken over and over and over again.
Right. Yeah. Right. So what would you say you are now? Like, what do you feel your biggest hurdles have been with coming into this newness, and like, where do you see it going?
Yeah. I think for me, my biggest hurdle, well, like, I'm a Virgo, right? So I love people, right? And, you know, and I don't like to hurt people. And so my biggest hurdle was really trying to navigate that terrain of trying to move, right? And shift into this new narrative, but also trying to hold on to relationships. And I finally got to a
People
point
didn't
when,
necessarily agree or understand
yeah,
where you're coming
because, you
from.
know,
Okay.
because you're in a space, right, where you're evolving, and if people aren't evolving with you, which everybody won't,
Right.
because it may not just be their time, then there's that natural gap, right, that's created. And so I had to learn the difference. I'm one of those, I had to go through the rough patches, so to speak, of, you know, realizing I can't save everybody.
Oh.
I can't, you know, bring everybody on the journey with me.
Okay.
And, but once I got there, you know, I was cool. And then I've been very blessed to have some people who just understood me. They understood that I've always been an intellectual. They understood I've always been a scholar. So some people, they're like, this don't even surprise me. I can see it coming. So I do still have very, very good friends that are still traditional Christian ministers.
Gotcha.
But now I've also expanded, and I've opened up. I have friends now that are Buddhist, friends that are atheists, friends that, you know, are in this expanded consciousness with me. So I'm just grateful for it.
Right. Do you feel like it's because of that questioning that you've been able to go through these different levels of understanding? Do you think it's because of the constant questioning?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's my questioning, and my questioning comes from, again, being a researcher and being a scholar. And so, you know, even while I was in traditional ministry, you know, I was still researching, still asking questions. You know, because again, that was natural for me because I didn't grow up in the church, and I didn't go through, you know, the socialization, or some people say the brainwashing of a seminary. You know, but I was allowed, I was blessed enough to take this journey, you know, on my own recourse, so to speak. I was able to really be experiential with it, and just as I experienced different things, I was able to pull this, or no, not, I'll leave that alone.
Right.
You know, or I can get down with these people or this person, but I can't get down with that particular teaching or whatever have you. So for me, it's been, you know, really just a experiential learning piece, where, you know, some people would say that there's a scripture in the Bible that says you have no need for man to teach you, for you know all things. So for me, it was a constant evolution of knowing those things, but now going through the unfoldment of those things. And now I had to come into that space, you know, that Abraham Hicks would say, into that space of, you know, acceptance, right, and allowing, right, the unfoldment to happen.
Right. Because I was going to ask you, what do you feel your discernment was through that? But it seems as though it's just the allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel, or to know what you need to know.
Yeah, and coming into the revelation that it's all the same, right? You know, called by different names, maybe different practices,
right?
You know, different rituals, but nevertheless, it all, so to speak, empty. All the rivers, so to speak, empty into the same ocean.
Right.
If that makes sense, right?
Right.
You know, and so again, I just brought everything. So you mentioned that I'm an entrepreneur. So my wife and I also have a company called Destiny Speaks Coaching and Consulting. Where in that we do, you know, individual life coaching, group coaching, spiritual coaching. You know, yeah, we do. We still, people ask, do you still do marital counseling? We still do marriage counseling.
But
right?
probably from a wider scope now. You have more
From a wider
influence
scope.
to guide you, right?
Yep.
So what
And
is the dream?
yeah,
What is the dream now? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourselves going with this? What are you on to next?
yeah.
What is unfolding?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. I think that a lot of people try to get us to start another church or some kind of organization. And I just think that we've had our run with that piece. But again,
Okay.
we still have a home-based teaching where we have about 15 to 20 people on a given day. We don't do it every week. We probably do it a couple of times a month. We mix that in with some, online, teachings and things of that nature. We're focused on building our business, and so we're constantly going after clientele. We're in a space right now where we're looking to gain bigger clientele, and so we recently did a training with a city,
Okay.
and so they brought us in to train 360 of their city employees.
For some transformational coaching? Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Very nice.
And so, we just walk in tandem. So where we're going right now, we're really focused on our 5-year-old princess.
Okay.
We don't know. We're just in the moment, right? We're in the now. We're both, like I said, my wife is a dean of students at a public charter K through 12 school. I am, again, working still in higher education. I start my doctorate program. I officially got accepted, and so
Very
I
nice.
start
Congrats.
my doctorate program in the fall. And and so I'm looking. Ultimately, if you ask me, I'm looking probably in the next few years to jump over to the academic side and become a professor.
Wow.
I'll have my degree my doctorate degree in curriculum and instruction. But ultimately, I went that route because I want to keep the business.
Mm-hmm.
I want to instruct at the higher education level.
Mm-hmm.
But I also then want to still be in the community, as I consider myself to be a scholar, practitioner, activist.
Yeah.
So I also still want to be very involved in the community, even more so because I'll start to do the research that will put me in various places, even within community organizing.
Well, it sounds like you're still truly a teacher at heart. One of the things that you named very much in the very beginning, you're doing the evangelistic work in a new way. You're doing the teaching in a new way, reaching the people in a new way. So I think that's splendid. And it sounds like, because I was going to ask you, do you feel like you're in flow? But it sounds like you very much are.
Yeah, and the crazy part about that, Yvonne, is this, that, and people take it how they take it sometimes, but I had this longing and this feeling like even while I felt like I was in my calling, I felt like there was more.
Yeah.
And so for me, I went on like this 2-year hiatus where if you go back to my Facebook posts, they all had hashtag pursuing something more.
Wow.
That's when I entered into this journey because I knew there was something more. I knew I was supposed to be doing much more than just, going to the church on a Saturday, doing leadership class, being there for, and just sitting in, really listening to, our praise team, rehearse, because we are really gifted. My wife, as I said, she's a 5-genre singer. Her main genre is opera.
Wow.
And grew up in the church.
Okay.
And so, we were gifted and we were blessed with millennials. And so people would look at me and say, well, how are you doing that? My entire leadership team were 19, 20, 21-year-olds,
wow.
right?
Most Which is of them, a blessing. Right, right.
Were college degrees. And and when I say leadership, we didn't just have them, boosting us up. They were trained, they were skilled, they were preaching, they were teaching, they were building their own ministries, building their own businesses. And so, we very much believed, in what we were doing. And so that next level of calling just, really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to go there or else I would not be in flow.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really start receiving, if you will, the blessings of being in the flow until I made this most recent transition.
And that's powerful. That's a powerful testimony in itself, because so often I was going to ask you, like, what do you think would have happened if you would have chosen to stay? And so you answered it already, because so many people don't realize that when you stay stagnant, and not to say that it just, but when you stay in that space and it's time for you to grow,
right,
you might be blocking your blessing and someone else's. Right.
Right, because I always heard this. I always heard that, and thought I heard, but I would never give over to it. But I always heard, that you're not, you can't get all that I have for you because you're not in right position. I dealt with that, and I was like, what does that mean? What does that really mean? And it wasn't until, again, I made the decision to dissolve the church and to begin, really fast tracking my journey and my path onto expanded consciousness. The other thing that I think people don't talk about a lot is not only would I have been stagnant, my family would have been stagnant, I would have damaged a lot of people.
You would have damaged.
Because I would have still been in that place where I'm trying to preach one thing, but I'm living something else.
Right. Out of alignment. Right.
Yeah, I would have been completely out of alignment. I would have been trying to, teach them the gospel and teach them about sin and all these things, while here I am, I've evolved beyond all of that
level. Right. Yeah. So what would you say, where would you say you found the courage to have the confidence to walk this new path?
I'm still finding it every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still finding it every day, because for me, it's a daily journey. Because there's so much information that's out here now. We're in an information stage. And again, for me, I'm a social theorist. I'm political. I'm economical. I'm educational. And so we have our hands in it. I research it. I bring it into the teaching. And so I recognize there's so much information that's out here these days that I really have to sit in things, right? Before I really say, okay, I believe this, right? So for me, it's a daily journey about finding myself, a daily journey about finding, the power from within to be accepting, and then to even move into that allowance space where I allow that to come into both my physical and my emotional, and spiritual space. So all three places, really.
And that's deep, because to be in that place of allowance, what it sounds to me like you're talking about is being able to really trust yourself, that I can surrender in this way to this unfoldment, to this process, to what is happening all around me. So yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah. And for me, it's also, and I can speak to it.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm very much still a practical person. I've always been practical. And so with me, it's also, you will never find me speaking on something unless I know I can speak effectively to it.
Okay.
The Apostle Paul said, I spoke because I knew. Right. And oftentimes that's when we really know that we know something. People will say, I've done the research, I heard this and I heard that, but you don't really know what you know until you're able to effectively speak to it. And you know that you can really teach people accordingly.
Gotcha. That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you. So, I don't even know. Oh, we've been on for a hot little minute there. So I want to know, time flies when you're having fun. Hey.
It does.
So what I want to know what are specifically, usually I would ask what final gems you have for the people, but we've been dropping a whole lot of gems. So what I want to know specifically is what gems do you have for those others who are in ministry, maybe in traditional ministry right now, and they're struggling to make the transition as you have? Yeah.
One, I would say be authentic. And what I mean by that is to really hear what your intuitive voice is saying to you. Don't suppress it. Don't quench it. Scripture even talks about quenching, don't quench the spirit. So don't quench it, right? There are a lot of questions that I had for a long time that I did quench. And so be very authentic, right? Don't quench it. Ask the questions you need to ask. Two, I would say be open-minded. And with that, you got to be open-minded because that's the only thing that's going to allow you to ask the questions that you really need to ask. I was so indoctrinated that I wouldn't ask the right questions. And so now what I tell people is, you don't have to lose sight of your doctrine, but, give yourself that permission to be open-minded enough. And really, I say open-minded and open-hearted because it's a both and. It's a thinking process and a feeling process. So you got to allow yourself to feel that you're being pulled in another direction and allow yourself to understand cognitively that you're being pulled in a new direction or you're coming into a new awakening. Therefore, give yourself that permission to to ask the questions. Finally, I would say be bold. Be bold enough to take that step. And what I tell people all the time now is that where I am now, it's a both and for me. It's not an either or. What that means is that because I've been in the traditional Christian church, I still go to church if I want to get up and go to church, I'll go, right? Absolutely. I still have relationships with friends who are ministers or who go to traditional churches. But likewise, I can also now entertain, the Zen Buddhists, right? I can also now allow myself to practice yoga, to, wear the mala and to understand what it is as a teacher. I can now interpret the scriptures. For instance, one of my biggest scriptures right now is, where the Bible says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Well, I now understand that to mean in relation to the seven planes. I understand now that to mean the Alpha being the Buddhist or the Buddhic plane that you really, in terms of awakening, you come to first. And then I am the Omega, which is the Logos or the Christ consciousness, which is the ultimate plane of existence that you get. So theoretically, in terms of enlightenment and awakening, we're all Buddhists, right? We all got to pass through that category of enlightenment of the Buddha.
It's levels.
And,
right.
But at the same time, we all have the Christ consciousness within. And so at some point, we all have to pass that way of the death, burial, and resurrection. The personality ego has to die so that now the Christ consciousness within can really crack through that shell and resurrect. And now you can really begin to move in Christ consciousness. So I haven't really gone anywhere. I tell people, like a building, a skyscraper, you just go up to the next floor. But the foundation is still the same.
Yeah, I love it. And tell us about, what was the necklace again? Tell us really quickly what that is.
So pretty much in Buddha or Buddhist teachings, you'll find, and we wear them all the time. People wear them all the time, right?
And don't know what they're wearing.
Right. These are nothing but crystals, right?
Okay.
This is, it's called a mala. I think it's M-A-L-A. So a mala. So very much like I used to wear a cross when I ministered, right? And so very much like that, this is a teaching mala. And this one represents the seven chakras, right? And so it's just the power of the chakras, right? And so like any other crystals, you would charge it, right? And so I wear it when I teach or, when I'm doing interviews like this or whatever. But again, that speaks to my practice, right? And so now I practice crystal therapy. I practice sound therapy. And what I found is that a lot of people don't do this because this is a very mature journey.
Sure.
And it's a lot of work. It really is. It's a lot of work. And I tell people that was one of the things that I heard when I made my transition was that it was time for me to transition because there was a mature knower that I was supposed to come in contact with. So you move beyond the path of just believing into that dimension of knowing.
Yeah.
And this is where I am, and I'm enjoying the journey. I really am.
Love it. I love it. It's a beautiful journey indeed. And I thank you so much for sharing with us today because, I believe that you're never alone. And there are so many other people who are probably going through or about to enter into what you just went through. And so to be able to share and to be able to give them that insight and experience and say, hey, it's okay, you're not alone. That's, that's what it's all about. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. People need to know that, seriously, that this is truly a time of great awakening. It's not just where people are not just saying that to say it, but people, and I know people are awakening in the church. There are expanded conscious individuals sitting in pews on this Sunday right now as we talk, right? Or getting ready to go back to virtual pews. Well, some are actually still going, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so there are people that are sitting there and with questions, but don't know how to move. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, with being authentic, being open-minded, being bold enough to give yourself that permission, I think it's just a starting point, but that's where it really begins.
Right. Well, again, I thank you. And this is a beginning point for somebody. And for us, we'll be moving on to the next one. So I thank you again. Yeah. Is there anything coming up or anything you want to highlight that folks can join into soon or something like that?
Just really follow me on social media. Facebook, D. Daniel Bynes. IG, metaphysical_mystic. Mm-hmm. And those are my two primary. Yeah, I'm on Twitter as well, at DD Bynes. And right now, I think that's where people can find me. Again, I still do a lot of teaching primarily privately. I'm in some conversations with some different folks to probably begin doing some public teaching, probably in this, as we move throughout 2020. And so I'll let people know about that. And, we'll go from there.
Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. The work is just getting restarted. So again,
this is my reset year.
This is the reset. This is
literally. Because as we went through some stuff, and I didn't go into everything, but making this transition, you go through things, you lose a lot, right? Yeah. Friends,
but it's necessary.
Right? It's necessary, right? Mm-hmm. So reset in the sense that we're starting to regain our mojo, so to speak, and things are just falling right into alignment. And so I'm back in that place now where I'm able to focus. But honestly, I enjoy the one-on-one. I enjoy the mentorship. So I've had mentor organizations before. Mm-hmm. People ask me to mentor. So I'm kind of just feeling all of that out and trying to see, because on this journey is very much one that it's your journey.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to mislead people into believing that, you got to have a teacher, you got to have this person or that person.
Right. I don't believe that either.
And so I'm kind of taking my time with that to figure out how, if I do this, how should it be done so that people don't lose themselves trying to quote unquote follow me or my teachings.
I got you. Yeah. And that's a great place to be. That's a great place to be. Don't get tangled up in it because it's not all the way your business. But
right, absolutely.
But that's a great place.
The stories I could tell.
Right.
But thank you so much for the invite. This has been fun.
Thank you so much, folks. Thank you so much for flowing with us today. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. I'm your girl, Ebony Yvonne, the Queen of Real Talk. And until next time, later. We out.
Peace.
All right.